Example number 4 of section 1.5. It says construct a frequency histogram. We're going to use the raw data to complete the columns on the table. These numerical values represent the IQ scores of 21 kids. This little table here, and this is our raw data that was provided to us. Let's go ahead and complete a table. You've seen this table before, and it's going to help us organize our data before we launch into the actual histogram. So take this table as an organizational tool. These things here, I should have highlighted the whole thing, is called a bin, also called a class. This can be have several names depending on the book, depending on your instructor. We can call them different things. But overall, we've talked about this before. It is a box, right? You can picture it like a box, and it has certain values in it. This box has the 75 value in it, 76, 77, 78, 79, 80, 81, 82. That's what's in this box. Some other vocabulary that we've already seen is tally. A tally is when we count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so on. Our fraction and our percents, our fraction is going to come from a part over a whole. So overall, I feel ready to get started since I understand all my vocabulary. So we're going to take our 82. I'm going to cross it out because it's easy for me to erase it if I need it. But sometimes I see students cross out something very aggressively on their paper. And then if they need to look back, then they're not able to. So please cross it out gently. 82, this 82 is going to go here. 93, 85, and we're done. There's several ways that I'm going to check that I am correct, okay? Let's count the tallies. So in this first box from 75 to 82, I have 5, 6, 7, 8. In this next bin, I have 5, 6, 7, 3, and 3. So my total, by looking at my own counts, I have 8 plus 7 is 15, plus 3 is 18, plus 3 is 21. So what I see is a total of 21, but that doesn't matter because I could have missed something. So I'm going to come up here, and first of all, I see 21. If they didn't tell me that, I would count them all. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. This seems like a silly step, but it's so important. Imagine you did all of these calculations and all of your answers were wrong because you missed one data point. So make sure you count them before you start working on everything else. Let's go into our fraction. Remember, our fraction is part over a whole. So we have 8 over 21. I meant to say fairly similar. And even this one, we already know this will be a 1. Our percentages, we have practiced this. Let's practice it again. So we have 8 divided by 21. And we have an answer of 38. And then let's take a look. I'm going to do one decimal place. So what I see right now is 0, 9. So I'm looking, this is the place that I want, and I'm looking here. 9 is greater than 5, so this adds 1. It didn't tell me how many decimal places to use, so I'm choosing to use one decimal place. Next one, 7 divided by 21. This is going to be a repetitive, so this is 3.33. I'm looking here. This is not greater than 5, 5 or greater. So it's going to stay as 3. 3 divided by 21. 14%, this is 28. I'm doing 1 decimal place, so this will be 8 is 5 or more. This will be 3. The next one is the same. And the last one should be 100%. Remember, our totals kind of come from 2 places. I come from here, the 100 comes from here, and the 100 should come from here as well. Let's check it out. 38.1 plus 33.3 plus 14.3 and that's 100. Our rounding actually worked out beautifully. Sometimes it's not exact, but in this case, it looks great. Now that I have my table complete, remember our goal is our histogram, but let's answer a few questions first. It says, what is the sum of the first column, which we're also calling the counts? The sum of the first column is 21. The sum of the first column is 21. I know you can answer this part. B, you try this one. C, what fraction of the kids received an IQ score less than 91? So this is less, and this is less. This is actually kind of a double question. So we have a fraction of 8 over 21, because those are less than 91. And the 7 over 21 is also less. So we have 15 over 21. Let's write it out. 15 out of 21 kids received less than 91. All of this was still not our purpose, right? Our table was to help us organize. What is our purpose is the histogram. So it says use the tables on the previous page to label the heights of the frequency histogram and to label your axes and to give it a title. In other words, fill out everything, right? You're doing everything from scratch. What we have on the x-axis is our IQ scores. What we have on our y-axis is our counts. We're going to name this the frequency of IQ scores. Okay, because it's measuring frequency, and this is IQ scores. All right. Students find it difficult to label their axes. So that was a challenge in itself. Let's go on to the second part of the challenge is labeling the actual scale. The way we write our scale has to be from our table. Now, unfortunately, different books do this different ways. The way that I'm going to show you, we're going to choose the first number from here. But you have to be very careful to check that whoever is asking you to write a histogram, that you do it the way they're asking. So let's go ahead and use that first number that we saw. So I'm going to start off a little bit away from the leftmost line so that we don't start at 0, and I'm going to label this with 75. I showed you where I was grabbing that 75 from. And then I'm going to go the next line that I have here. I'm going to do 83. 91. If you look back at the table, you know where these are coming from. And the last one that you don't have on the table is 107. I do have to give the ending of my bar, a number as well. Okay, so you have to have all these numbers here. Another thing about histograms is, don't forget, in your histograms, your bars touch. This is what marks the difference from one of the differences from the bar graphs. Let's go ahead and label our y-axis. We need to have a scale as well. I'm going to start off a little bit away from the bottommost line, and we're going to start with 0. Notice that I didn't start here, and that's because my scale would be a little bit off, especially because I have 75 on the x-axis. So I'm not going to start there, otherwise they wouldn't match. So I have 0, I'm going to go every 2. 2, 4, 6, 8. And I went up to 8, let me refresh your memory, because this count was, the highest number was 8. And we are ready to get started. So the first one, 75 to 83, has a count of 8. Remember I said before that if I could, I would use that ruler. Again, your lines also have to touch, so I think that'll be important. The next one, the next spin is from 83 to 90, and the frequency was 7. The next bar should be from 91 to 98, and the frequency is 3. And the last bar is from 99 to 106, and the frequency is also 3. Like we did last time for our bar graph, let's go ahead and label our bars so that the reader can easily take a look. And this is one of the observations that I wanted to point out. Sometimes some books, some instructors don't want you to use 75 because, actually, let's look at 83. 83, if you remember, belongs to this bar here. So some instructors, some books don't want you to use 83, and they would actually use something like 82.5. And that 82.5 would belong to this bar. Instead of 91, they would use 90.5. So the 91 would belong here, and this one belongs here. Can this cause a little bit of confusion? Yeah, I agree with you if you're thinking, I'm confused. Why would she show me this? I want you to be aware that sometimes things are taught differently, and this is one of them. If your instructor is deciding to use a 0.5, then that means that your 82.5, and if you go back to your 82 point, it's not something that fits, either here or here. It's just right in the middle. In my case, I'm going to stick to the original values that I had here. Our histogram is done.